Hi, this is Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I've got a sneak peek of a couple of cards using the Mischievous Mice stamp set from the January to June 2022 mini catalog. And here's what the stamp set looks like. Now this is a host set, and we're going to start with a piece of basic white and my basic gray ink pad, and we're going to use the stamp that's the block of cheese with the mouse in it. And let's stamp and give it a rub all over. And then while we're stamping, I'm going to stamp again, and I'm inking up just the back section of this that has the, I want the head and the tail there. So let's close up my ink pad and put this stamp out of the way. And then let's zoom in here, and we're going to do some coloring. Okay, so I'm bringing in my Stampin' Blends. And I've got my Dark and Light Daffodil Delight and my Dark and Light So Saffron. And I just want to put these so that I can remember which is which, and I'm going to start up here with the Dark Daffodil Delight. I think I'm going to switch to my bullet tip for that. And as my brush tip is a little, it's gotten a little fluffy on the end instead of as nice as it should be. Okay, and then let's see which one's dark. That's this one in the So Saffron, and I'm just going to continue pulling all the way back here because we're doing a blend all the way out, and then come on out with my light all the way to the end here. Okay, and then let's do that again. I'm going to take my bullet tip. You can use your brush tip. And I'm going to add some of the dark all the way down the back here. And I'm just kind of scribbling a line so it's not as hard as drawing a line. That way it blends a little better. And pulling that out with the Light Daffodil Delight. And trying not to color over top of those little circles there. Okay. And then let's come in with the So Saffrons. And I want my dark So Saffron first. And come around the mouse's hands and tail. And again, I'm trying to avoid coloring over top of those circles. And then we've got my Light So Saffron here. Okay, and then I'm coming back out to this front edge and putting some of my dark in here around And this time I am going to use that bullet tip on the light Daffodil Delight. Gives me just a little more control because I don't want to come out very far with it. And then the same thing, let's see, yes, I did pick up the Dark So Saffron. Okay, and that's our shading on our block of cheese, except I need to color in my the circles now. So we're going to shade the tops of these and then come back with the light Daffodil Delight, and this will make them look as if they're recessed a little bit. And I am coloring over that darker shade and then adding my light. And then this one, we just want to make sure that we're not coloring over the tail. And bring some of that color down with the lighter Daffodil Delight. And then these, I'm just going to fully color in with the dark. Got a couple more to touch there. Okay, so that's all of our yellow. And then we're going to do our grays. And I'm going to use make sure I've got which one's dark and which one's light. So the bullet tip in the dark. And I see where I need to come back in, and I'm just going to dot some of this around the dark. And then let's bring the light in. And blend that out a little bit. We do want to leave some of that dark edge. And I'm leaving some space there on his face. And I'm just going to come in with my color lifter and move that all towards that blank space. And then I want to add this dark here on the ear. And then let's cap this end up, because I'm going to color around with the bullet tip on the light smoky slate and light smoky slate on all of these. On the paws here. Okay, and then let's do the tail. And that was the dark down, and now I'm pulling in the light. Just checking to make sure that when I twisted, I stayed in camera. Okay. Let's close these up. I'm going to grab my dark Daffodil Delight here. I just realized I hadn't colored behind my mouse here. And then I've got my light Flirty Flamingo, and I'm just going to sketch in a little for a nose and here on the ear. Okay, so I'm going to stop the camera and color my head and tail here and cut things out, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have our cheese cut out and our mouse head and tail, and I'm just going to stick a dimensional behind the mouse's head, and then I'm going to offset it just a smidge so that it looks like he's got a second ear back there rather than just the one that's in the stamp. And then I want my tail to be raised, and this is a skinny piece, so let's pull back a piece of the corner of the dimensionals, and I'm not going to stick the top edge on here. Okay, and then I can see to cut, and let's just cut the corner off here, put this out of the way, and I'm just leaving that backing paper on there so that my scissors don't get sticky. Let's put those bits out of the way and then come trim down around this front edge. Now, I've cut my tail very close, and if you would like to cut it with more of a border, you can do that, and then just use your Stampin' Blends to add some of the Daffodil Delight and So Saffron of for the cheese. Okay, so now I have my tail. Whoops, scissors stuck on my thumb, and I've got my dimensional backing on this. I think I need to neaten this up. I'm going to angle this just a little bit here. And I think I'm good then. And then I want a dot of glue up here at the top. Let's pull this off. And then I need to match up my tail over top of the one below, and then hold this just a moment at the top where I had the glue so that it's flat coming out of the cheese, and then you get the dimension. Okay, so now from here we're very quick. I need to stamp my sentiment, and I'm using basic gray for that. Let me make sure that's inked up well. And my little halo won't matter. Let's put that out of the way up here. And I'm cutting this apart. Okay, same thing here, coming up, and this is just getting trimmed in very close, which makes trimming by hand a little easier because you're not trying to leave an even border. Let's take this piece out of the way, and I need to add a little bit of dimensional, so I'm back to my bits left from a mini dimensional piece, and so and then I want a single I'm going to double this end. If you've got many dimensionals, you can use those, but I'm using up. I've doubled the wrong end. So let's just pull those off real quickly and double the correct end, the left side of the word. Oops. There we go. Okay, and then just a single over here. And let's see what we can do for this one. I'm going to have to cut a narrower strip for this. So we're going to put this all the way across and then cut off this excess. Let's pull this loose. And I want about half of that right in the middle. Okay, so there's my sentiment. Let me just put this piece back on here and move this out of the way. Okay, so then I used the Picture This dies. Love these. They're in the annual catalog. And I cut a piece of Pool Party. And then I've got a layer of Coastal Cabana that's just a little bit smaller. And the little bit smaller makes it easy to layer them up, because then I don't have to worry about the edges matching. And I've gone with the darker shade behind so that we get some of that same effect that we have with the cheese and the darker behind in there. Give it a little bit of depth. And you'll notice that I used a number of dimensionals, and that's because we've cut so many holes in that layer, and we want it to be able to hold itself up and not be saggy. Okay, so see, no problem here. Didn't have to worry about whether I was exactly. And then we're just going to add a couple more here. And then let's bring in our layer. It is thick basic white, and I've cut it so that we've got a bottom opening card. All the measurements for these will be in my newsletter. If you don't already receive that, you can sign up with the link for my newsletter in the description below the video. And let's add a couple more on here for the cheese, and then let's see, I'm just checking to see where these are fitting. And I'm going to double these up so that it sits above the Pool Party background rather than being even with it. Since each one of these falls into the holes that are cut. Okay, let's move that out of the way. And then we've got my Justa, and we're going to pop that on. Let's make sure my card is straight. Okay. And And then you're going to make sure that little center section is in the hole there. Okay, and there's our card in Pool Party. Let me set this aside and we'll change the color of the second card. Okay, and for that second card, we're going to start with basic white again. And I've got a different mouse for it. Let's go ahead and ink him up in basic gray. Okay, and while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment. I'm going to do that over here in the corner. Give it a rub all over. And again, I've caught the edge and it just won't matter when we're done. Let's put the ink out of the way. And then I'm going to zoom in so that we can color our mouse. Okay, and again, I'm going to use Stampin' Blends. And this time, I'm going to make sure that I've got my Daffodil Delight. Okay. And I'm going to start with the bullet tip and color down with the dark Daffodil Delight down the pencil here. Now, if coloring a small area is a little tricky, put an extra finger from your other hand in to give a little more support, and it will make coloring small spaces a little bit easier. Okay, so there is my dark Daffodil Delight. And we're just going to come in with the light Daffodil Delight on the top of the pencil. And I'm going to let that dry a moment. And then let's come in with my light crumb cake. And I'm trying not to go over any of the color back on something. And we're using the light crumb cake up here on the top of the pencil. And I'm going to set this aside for a moment. And then I've got my light magenta madness that I'm going to use for the eraser. And set this aside. Now let's work on my mouse body. And I'm going to use my light and dark smoky slate again. So let's start at the top, and I'm going to dot in some of the dark smoky slate, and then use my light Okay, and then I'm going to come in with that color lifter and blend some of that down in the middle so that we leave him with a little bit of a highlight there in the middle of his face. And add that dark again, and then come here with the light. And then I want a little bit of dark because there's shadow, so I'm just giving it a dot. And the light smoky slate. And then let's come over here to this side with the dark, and then blend that with the light smoky slate. And then we need a little bit of shadow under this pencil and under the arm here. Then we're going to give it a little bit of a line there, and then out with the light. Okay, and a little bit of dark here, and blend down, and then let's get the toes there. And then we need our tail, so we're going to start with the dark. And just taking my time here. Okay, and then for his arms, I want to just come in with the light and try only to color once, and that instead of going back over an area. And then I'm going to color with light smoky slate here. Let's cap these up now. And then I'm going to take my color lifter and pick that up, and this is my lighten blends technique, and it allows me to create a different shade just by picking up that little bit of color. And then don't forget to brush out your color lifter. And then we need that little bit of pink on the nose and up here in the ears with the Flirty Flamingo. And then I want to come back with my light crumb cake, and I'm adding just a line of color there for shading. By allowing that to dry, it doesn't blend, it layers over. And I'm doing the same thing up here with my Magenta Madness to give a little more detail. So let's go ahead and cut out my sentiment, and I'm just going to follow the shape here. And I'm going to get that off my paper, off the bigger piece. Okay. And just following the lines of the words so that we get a interesting shape here. Okay, so there's our sentiment. I'm going to take our mouse off camera and die cut him, and I'll be right back. So I've got our mouse here that's been die cut with one of the layering circles, but he needs to be grounded. So I've got my vellum again, and I'm coloring with Dark Pool Party. And let me bring my color lifter and pick some of that up, and we're going to just add some shadow around so that he doesn't look like he's hanging out in the air. And I'll admit to having forgotten to do that on the one that I did with the bumblebee. Okay, so he's got a little bit of ground there. We'll let him dry a second and make sure that color is going to show up. And in the meantime, we're going to take our basic white layer, and I've got my soft pastels from the annual catalog, and let's take the Coastal Cabana stick in the soft pastels, and I'm just going to scribble on a little bit of color. Okay, let's put that away. And then I've got my water painter, and I need to squeeze that so the brush is damp but not wet, and blend this across. Makes for a very easy, controlled kind of watercolor background. I am going to add a little bit of water on the back, and that will just let that relax as it dries. And then you'll want to brush your brush out to get the blue out of it. Let me set that over here. So I'm going to go ahead and add dimensionals to my layer here so that we can add that to our card base. Oops. And since I did add water to it, I am going to add a couple of more dimensionals, and this will just make sure that when it's dry, it's flat. And again, I've got a thick basic white base, and it's cut so that it opens at the bottom. A project sheet for these cards will be in my newsletter that comes out the first of the year. So if you would like that project sheet, please subscribe to my newsletter list. You can find the link for that in the description below the video. Okay, and then we used the Picture This dies on the first card, and when you use the die, you have these great circles left over, and I hate to not use them. So we're going to use them. They make great little background elements. And let me grab another sheet of dimensionals back here. Oh, not minis, I need the full size. Okay. And go ahead and put this one down. I think about right here is good. And then let's add dimensionals. Oops. Just tossing those everywhere. Okay, and here. And let's do the other large one. And I think about here. And then we'll do one small one up here in the corner. Okay. And just checking to see, make sure I've got my, this is going to be a double stack at the bottom. And then I need a single here and a single here, and then this spot will be a double. And I'm not going to push that down hard yet, because now that I've got this in place, I want to tuck one of these small circles that's left under the edge. Okay, and then we're going to take this one and tuck it in here. And then we've got our sentiment. So double stack on this end, and then let me grab that edge sheet that I was working with, and I just need a little bit here, and grab my snips and cut the excess off. Okay. And yeah, we're straight. Okay, and then let's add our embellishments to this one. So I've got the classic matte dots from the January to June mini catalog, and I'm going to use the white dots on this. Oop. It's sticking to my finger because my finger is a little gluey. Let me give that a rub there. Okay, and just a little subtle embellishment for that card. Thanks for stopping in today. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with your card making friends. If you're in the United States, please do some of your Stampin' Up! Shopping in my store. There's a link for that in the description below the video. And when you subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell, you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. Have a great day. Bye.